wanted to do a special video for the Jupiter retrograde in Sagittarius transit. Jupiter is going retrograde on the 10th of April at 24:21 degrees, and he goes direct again on August 11th at 14:30 degrees. Now, the Sabian for where he goes retrograde is called a chubby boy on a hobby horse. And where he goes direct is at 15, and the word there is a groundhog looking for its shadow. Now, these are both interesting images that let's get into later. Okay, so first I'm going to get some cards here. Whoopala, okay. That override, and then I'm going to do one card for every month on the going forward and then coming backwards. So four cards for the retrograde, and then 4 more cards for when it turns direct again in August. And then it goes into Capricorn, because this is preparation for the big build. You know, it's useful to remember who Jupiter is and what he signifies. Jupiter is the god. I'll take all of them. That is so funny, truth be told, because Jupiter is all about the truth. And we'll put these here. Jupiter is the god of the gods. You don't get any higher, you know, and that's why he's so associated with expansion, with big picture, because from where he sits, he can see everything. He is the bringer of good luck, because he is the closest, or he, you know, as divine as one can get. And he's the seeker of truth, because he sees all. So all of those aspects, anything Jupiter touches gets bigger, including our weight. So that chubby boy on a hobby horse is funny. Okay, so 2 more cards for the rest of the first half of the retro. And he represents, you know, foreign countries, philosophy, religion, anything. Let me get some more. I made some notes here. Foreigners, animals, abundance, and the thing with Sagittarius is that because it's so associated with good luck, you know, you know how you say don't tempt fate. So sometimes they can be almost lazy. Because they're so used to just pulling it out at the last minute, and things do tend to kind of always work out for Sagittarians. It's really frustrating. I have my daughter's a Sagittarius, and I've dated a whole bunch of them, and I have a ton of Sag friends. You know, they're boisterous and they're a good time, like wild horses. Good luck reining them in. Can I have one more card for the first half of the retrograde, please? But they can be lazy because they're so used to, well, they have that kind of philosophical approach to life to begin with. So it's like everything is going to work out fine in the end. Just enjoy the process, which, you know, as Aries, we can be like, feel like it's almost naive sometimes, that way of looking at things. And it can be frustrating when you're trying to get something done and you've got the Sagittarian who's kind of playing around. 4 more cards for the return, please. And then especially when things either work out for them or they just give up, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's all good for them. So the retrograde in this period is where that energy of abundance, of philosophy, of truth, of religion, of foreign points of view, that all gets a little bit deflated. And where it will happen in your chart is different for all of us. I'm an Aries ascendant as well as Aries sun and Aries moon. So for me, it's in my 9th house. Now, the interesting thing about this retrograde is that it stops at 24. And the galactic center of our universe is on 26. And that galactic center is often known as, 4 cards, please, as the whistleblower's degree, because information gets sucked out. So it's interesting. I don't do reversals. It's interesting that it's like it was almost going to let the cat out of the bag. So it was like whatever truth or whatever philosophy or whatever abundance you've been waiting for. Okay. That looks to me like the Jupiter and Capricorn, or this is the phase getting back to 24. What was I saying? Sorry, I just got distracted by the cards. Yeah, so whatever we've been working on in terms of that, developing our philosophy or making our lives more abundant or expanding things into new territories, expanding our minds, expanding our families, expanding our business, all of that's going to deflate for a moment. And it's going to deflate because when Jupiter goes into Capricorn at the end of the year, which this looks like that's what that's going to be. When Jupiter gets into Capricorn, whatever we build is it, right? Jupiter stops being kind of fun-loving, run around like a wild horse self and starts actually building what his plan for creation was. So give me a second. Let me, I got my Dutch cards here. I was thinking of leaving it out, but I said I can't leave out the card in the foreign language on the Jupiter and Sag reading. So I'll be right back. Okay, so let's look at these cards together for a second. So here is the card of creation. And basically what this says is it's a story of a woman who wants to make something, but she doesn't know what to make. And the spirits encourage her to find her truth, her inspiration, her muse inside herself. This card here, my Dutch cards, is the card of connections, and it talks about karma. It talks about soul contracts. So basically we are in other people's lives to fulfill a certain role, and there are other people that are in our lives to fulfill a certain role. Karmic soulmates come in to push us into new directions. Sometimes the people in our soul family can actually be encounters that we don't enjoy at all, but the outcome is what's important because it puts us on a different path. This is, the idea of connections and getting in touch with other people and abundance of karma is very Jupiterian. And then this last card here is Truth Be Told. And this talks about the difference between the truth and a truth. And a truth is philosophy, and that again is a Jupiter concept. So it says that, similar to this one, you see how they're both flying out from within, that there is a truth that lies inside of you that's begging to come out. Okay, now I want to go back for a second, and I've put these other 2 cards here because they're kind of oracle-y, and I think I'll read them along with the periods that they came in because they're kind of final messages. So I'll get to them in the end. But I want to go back to the Sabians for a second because the chubby boy on a hobby horse. Now, Sagittarius is obviously the horse. And the chubby boy is also kind of what I think of when I think of Jupiter, even though he is the god of the gods. It does give this idea of somebody who's abundant, a little bit fleshy, and so if you think about what a chubby boy on a hobby horse is something you do for fun, for practice, but it's also a training tool for children. It teaches them balance. It teaches, there might be also a future interest in animals or in running. And so there's an element of foreshadowing at this degree, in the message of this degree. And that what is happening is sort of practice of what's to come. We do a hobby because we don't necessarily want to invest in it 100%. But usually what we end up doing as hobbies is far closer to us in terms of our truth than what we necessarily do or what we do for a living. And actually this card in its reverse suggests that there's something that we want to do, our abundance, because you see this treasure island, it's a treasure chest. On top of, there's lots of animals showing up in today's reading. I'm not surprised because of Jupiter. But in its upright, it speaks of how abundant we feel. In the reverse, it says that there's something that we're not doing. We're not honoring our sense of abundance. And again, even here, you see how there's, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get these lights. Let me move this a little bit forward. There you go. You see how the hearts are flying out of that which has been kept boxed in or locked, or closed windows or treasure chests. And so what it's saying is that right now you have this potential, but you're not going through with it. And this is, so there's some sort of hobby, there's some foreshadowing, there's some thing you do for practice that wants to come out. Okay, now when we get to the 15-degree Sagittarius, the Sabian there is a groundhog looking for its shadow. So again, with the animals. And what does a groundhog do? First of all, a groundhog has a very specific role in our life, much like it suggests that there are people who play roles for us. And it tells us if we're ready to evolve, if it's ready for the new season to happen, or if we're going to be faced with more of the same. And so this too, in and of itself, is also a foreshadowing. So in these 10 degrees between 25 and 15, there is sort of the path of the Jupiterian quest, which is that for truth, finding your truth, finding your beliefs, what's true for you. Are you living your truth? Where have you ventured to find your truth? What makes you feel abundant? What are you religious about? And so I believe that this period is going to be about not only identifying, which you probably have already, identifying what lies at your heart, but having the courage to go after it. Now, this card here, which also showed up in the reverse, says that there's a sense of urge, we feel like perhaps, and this is typical Aries, we feel like we're already late. We're late for a party we haven't even planned yet. And what this card reassures us, as particularly in the reverse, is that there is no such thing as being late for divine timing. That if it is ours, it will be ours, and that everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. Now, I say this because I see that there's two moments here of pause. Okay, these are the two reflection cards. This one is facing certain death. The next card in the tarot is the death. So he knows what's coming, and that's also offers some serenity. And in this card, what they did with soldiers is when they would return from war, they would When they would leave for war, they would prepare their own coffins and their own graves. And when they returned alive, they would take some time to reflect on the moves that they had made right, the moves that they had made wrong, what they would do differently. So I feel like in this first, remember, this is the first half of the, oops, I put those wrong way. In the first half of this retrograde, as it's actually going retrograde, this is the Jupiter card also. We're about to start a new cycle. Things are about to turn. But there's still something we're not 100% convinced about, right? We're not completely ready to take action. In fact, the 9 goes to the 10 at the end. We do end up with that wand, with that extra wand. That's where we get to at the end of November when the retrograde cycle, the shadow period, is over. But right now we feel like something's missing. We don't have all the elements that we need to be able to push forward, to get up that mountain. And so we take some time to reflect, and we take some time to look at things from a very cold heart, objective, no emotions. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Is this right for me? And looking forward towards what we want to come. Now, when we get to August 11th, which is here, we start to move forward. Okay, we're ready. We've done all the reflections, and these are the two major arcanas here, so they really sort of set the tone for those two periods. This also one, but whatevs. This guy is ready to move forward. He's now got he's balanced. He knows where he's going, and he's got a very good plan of what abundance looks like. Look at where it goes from that to that. He knows what it looks like, and we know it's going to take some work, so it's not the Jupiterian things are just going to fall in our lap building. No, because the next step is Jupiter and Capricorn, and that's where things, this slow builds. Jupiter does not, just like Saturn did not like being in Sagittarius, Jupiter is not going to like being in Capricorn because it's a lot of hard work. But, there is the promise of riches here. When we look at tarot cards, we also have to remember what's not on the table. There is no poverty. There is no lack here. And actually this card, one of the things it warns about is be careful of your mentality or your lack mentality state of mind, that this is a time to focus on what makes you feel like this guy, what truth, what beliefs, what religion, what you're religious about, because usually Sagittarius is an alternative form of religion. It's not very classic. Otherwise, we would have seen the Hierophant. It looks again in October that we have a moment of reflection again. It's not, but this one's a different one. Remember, this is before certain death, and this is having survived. So we look at things from a different perspective, like, okay, I've got nothing to lose, and we're able to cut out things that aren't part of whatever we're planning, and then we're able to move forward. We know what abundance looks like, and there's just a quick moment of reflection, perhaps to get that final charge before being able to go back into battle, or to just rest up after this period before we decide to head up the mountain again. And then we move forward, and this is the final chapter in that. So we're ready to start living our truth and building our version of creation, to co-create with our own universe. Now I want to talk for a second about this card here, the connections card, because we are Aries. We hate to ask for help. I'll do it myself is probably the sentence I say more times every day of every week. But when we Now, there are many times that we ask for help and people tell us no, and that's annoying, but it's good because those are not our helpers. However, in order to find your helpers, you do have to ask. And the ones who say yes and offer help are part of your soul family and are fulfilling their soul connection to you. So if we never ask for help, we actually don't allow people that we have contracts with to be able to play their role in our life. And think about the groundhog, everyone has their purpose, and some may just be to give you some advice. Some may be there to tell you, hey, look out, you're repeating cycles. Some may help you to guide you towards your truth, or tell you where your muse is hiding. But in this period, don't be afraid of expanding your social circle, because you might find some new people who are there to offer you some assistance to help you get into a more truthful, more authentic you. Now let me just see here if... No, got it. Yep. Fear of abundance, divine timing, creating your truth, letting people help you. Don't worry about the 2 moments of pause that are going to happen. That's what this is about. It says don't freak out because that which is yours will never be held from you. Divine timing is never late. So even if you find suddenly things are very stalled in relationships, in business, in whatever you got going on, in finding your truth, if you think things are stalling, just know that it's part of the process, and try and maintain as objective and as unemotional. Don't be emotional about delays, okay? Because that could end up making you go crazy about things. That's not necessary. Things are gonna move forward. They're going to move forward in very nice ways, because this is where he's headed. It's gonna be a lot of work, that's a guarantee, but we know that. But better the work in something you love, something you believe in. If you're doing, what's that sentence? If you're doing work you love, it's not work, it's love. So that's where we're kind of headed, into being able to live a fully authentic life that best represents us in our jobs, in our relationships, just in our day-to-day function. And I think we'll find, I mentioned this at the beginning about the whistleblower disease, whistleblower degree, that once it hits 26, which should be around the end of November, December, that's when we're really gonna get communication about what's been happening in this whole Sagittarian journey this past year. So we'll start to get clues, I think, as things start to move forward. You want to trust in your intuition. Trust if things resonate with you, when you can feel energetically that you are expanding, when you feel bigger, when you feel like you're part of the universe, when you feel the universe inside of you, that's when that there's an abundance just ready to fly out. That's when you're really tapping into something that's powerfully meaningful to you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. Feel free to leave me comments in the comment box section. If you want to do a Jupiter reading for yourself to see how this might play out in your own chart, because it'll be different based on the houses and your ascendant, and who rules that. So we also have to look at who talks to Jupiter in your chart. Just let me know. Otherwise, I will see you at the next reading. Thanks.